Earlier this week, President Biden announced he'll be running for re-election, but few are talking about, in my view, what may be the most important issue for 2024, Vice President Kamala Harris.
When I ran for president 4 years ago, I said we're in a battle for the soul of America, and we still are. That's why I'm running for re-election. Let's finish this job. I know we can.
Biden's re-election bid, of course, reigniting a question that has haunted him for a while now. Is he too old to be president? But that really shouldn't be the question. Yeah, he's 80. He'll be 82 when he should be sworn in January of 2025. He'll be 86 at the end of his second term if he wins. My dad's 86. He's as sharp as can be. It's not about the numbers. It's about his mental acuity, which is putting a bigger spotlight on Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, top White House officials are rushing to try to shore up her underwhelming support. Her poll numbers in the high 30s, even lower than President Biden's. And yet, with questions over Biden's ability and age, she could find herself with more of a focus regarding a potential second term. So knowing how unpopular she is, John, why wouldn't Democrats find someone else to be Biden's vice presidential candidate?
Well, I could just say Roe v. Wade and leave it at that, but let's go a little deeper. If they were worried about her being a drag on the ticket, they would have offered her Ketanji Brown Jackson's Supreme Court seat and solved it nicely.
Well, I don't know if she would have been confirmed. I mean,
I don't know if she would have either, but I don't remember anyone having this kind of a problem with the vice president. It is one of the most pointless jobs in the world. Her job is
But she's unpopular.
But because of her age.
Because of his age. Right, but speaking of mental acuity, Biden's fine. He's 80 and has a stammer. And ageism is the one ism I find liberals and conservatives are both equally guilty of. I don't mind a president who's not thinking about his mistress or his next job. Kamala Harris is in an okay position. She can only go up from here. I was reading.
She can only go up from here.
No, Dan, I was reading the Washington Post from September of 1982, where Americans, including Republicans, overwhelmingly didn't want Ronald Reagan to run for re-election. 1/3 of Republicans didn't want Reagan to run for re-election 2 years before he had the greatest landslide in history. The vice presidency is a really weird job. I don't know what Kamala Harris has done to make her less popular than Mike Pence in the same gig.
Whatever she's done or not done, it's a reality. Right? I mean, you can talk about it from a moral perspective.
I'm talking about from a fairness perspective.
Okay,
but then
fairness
it's easy
perspective.
to come.
Whatever. It is what it is.
Right.
And that's the way politics is. And I would think that, and here's the problem.
Is someone going to vote for Donald Trump because they don't like Joe Biden's running mate?
Maybe.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well,
I think
there's a word for those people.
Look, I think that what's going to happen is if the Republicans are smart, going into 2024, they will start focusing on Kamala Harris.
Yeah,
why? Because she's less popular.
Alienate women and non-white voters more.
But she didn't win in 2020, John. I mean,
I know.
So you think that was unfair? You think the Democratic primary voters...
I don't think voters care about the vice president in general. It's true because of Biden's age. That might not be the case.
Right.
But Roe v. Wade is going to balance a lot of this, and it's going to drive a lot of turnout. And you can look for this vice president to be giving nonstop speeches about Roe v. Wade.
Why not have someone who's more popular? Who you can still have Roe v. Wade,
but she should have been mobilized on Roe v. Wade.
Well, she's given a lot of speeches on it for the last year.
She's given more, but this would have been a great issue for her to have. She's more credible on abortion than a lot of her liberal colleagues. She sort of set the standard for the position.
But if they're worried about her, she'll be gone. The fact that she's still in the running. And there's 2 years for her to drop out.
I think that they can't let her go.
Yes, they want
because of her gender and her race in particular.
Well, that could help them with voters as well.
No, look, because you do risk. Because look, African-American voters are incredibly important to the Democratic Party when it comes to turnout.
But if they dropped her, they'll all say, oh, Biden's weak. He's afraid of his vice president. Well, so it'll kill him either way.
They have to stick with her because it's consistency versus chaos is the anti-Trump
But imagine if you picked, Val Demings. You name the person who's very popular among Democrats. And if it becomes a sort of race-gender issue, pick someone who's of the same race and gender to avoid that immediately becoming a question. But with her so unpopular, and it's going to be close.
I'd love to see Val Demings be the vice president.
But that's my point. Is that why not give her back her senator position, have Feinstein step down, appoint her again to become a senator in the meantime, and then allow him to pick a new vice president. I don't know. I'm just saying that I would think that there ought to be some sort of focus on this. Instead, the latest reporting indicates there's a 0% chance that Democrats are going to replace Kamala Harris.
Which says they're not scared about it yet.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.